So I'm standing at Target returning something, and guess who walks in holding hands? My fiancée and her coworker. They didn't even see me at first. Then, Saturday mornings were usually quiet for me. I like to get errands done before the weekend rush. Coffee, laundry, groceries, maybe a stop at Target. That day, I was just there to return a blender. Kara and I had bought it together a few weeks earlier after she saw some smoothie trend on TikTok. She'd used it twice before saying it didn't blend evenly. I didn't argue. I just put it back in the box and decided to return it. It was the kind of normal, uneventful morning I used to appreciate. I stood at the return counter with my receipt in one hand, scrolling through my phone in the other. The store had that usual low hum. Shopping carts squeaking, kids complaining, some pop song echoing faintly from the speakers. Nothing special. Until I turned around, there she was, Kara. She wasn't supposed to be there.
She told me she was running errands downtown with a few coworkers before heading to the salon.
But she wasn't alone, and she wasn't with a group. She was holding hands with one man. Tall, broad shoulders, expensive-looking jacket. It took me a second, but I recognized him. Miles Denton. I'd met him once at her company's Christmas party last year. He'd shaken my hand a little too firmly, called Kara the heart of our department, and told me I was a lucky man. I hadn't liked him then, but I didn't say anything. Now, at 10:30 in the morning, in the middle of Target, they walked in like a couple who'd been together for years. Their fingers were laced, their arms brushed as they moved. She leaned into him slightly as they walked. She wore her favorite beige coat, the one I'd bought her for her birthday last fall, and her hair was tied back in a casual bun, the kind she only did when she wanted to look effortless but still beautiful. For a few seconds, I froze. My first thought was that maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe they'd just run into each other. Maybe this was some weird coincidence. But then she tilted her head toward him, smiled in a way I hadn't seen in months, and he leaned down to whisper something near her ear. Her laugh was soft, private, familiar. I didn't move. I just stood there, pretending to check my phone as my chest started to tighten. The return clerk asked if I was ready, but I didn't even hear him. I nodded vaguely, left the box on the counter, and stepped aside. My eyes followed them as they wandered toward the electronics section. Miles stopped at a display of smart speakers. Kara touched his arm, said something, and he laughed. She reached for his hand again, openly, in public. That was the moment it really hit me. They weren't trying to hide. Something cold settled over me. Not anger yet, not even sadness, just a strange clarity. Every odd moment from the past few weeks replayed in my mind like pieces of a puzzle snapping into place. Her work dinners, her new gym membership, the way she'd started sleeping with her phone under the pillow. The time she claimed her battery died during a team night out, even though her location never updated after 7 p.m. I had noticed all of it, but I hadn't wanted to believe it. I told myself people get busy, that she was just stressed from wedding planning, that I was being paranoid, but now, in front of me, in the middle of Target, she looked like she belonged to someone else. I moved closer, pretending to browse a shelf of headphones. They hadn't seen me yet. From a few aisles away, I watched her slip her hand into the crook of his arm while they looked at a flat-screen TV. Miles leaned down, kissed her temple quickly, and she didn't even flinch. She just smiled, the kind of smile you can't fake. That was when the world seemed to narrow into a single moment of absolute disbelief. I could have confronted them right then, walked up, said something, made a scene. But something inside me refused. Instead, I pulled my phone from my pocket, angled it slightly, and snapped a photo. Just one. Her hand in his, their faces close enough that it was undeniable. They moved toward the back of the store, laughing, completely unaware. I stayed still, staring at the picture for a long moment before locking my screen. I don't remember leaving the store. My mind was somewhere else entirely. The parking lot felt too bright, the noise too ordinary for what had just happened. I sat in my car for maybe 10 minutes, engine running, staring at the people coming and going with their red shopping bags. I didn't even realize I'd left the blender on the counter. By the time I got home, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to say anything yet. If I confronted her without proof, she'd deny it. She was too smart, too composed. Kara worked in marketing. She knew how to spin a story. I'd seen her talk her way out of trouble before. When she came home that evening, she was cheerful. Her voice had that upbeat tone she used when she wanted to sound casual. She said traffic was awful, that she was starving, that she might order takeout because she was too tired to cook. She kissed my cheek as she passed, the same way she always did. I noticed her perfume instantly, stronger than usual, mixed with something unfamiliar. Maybe his cologne. Her hair looked freshly brushed, her lipstick slightly faded. Her eyes didn't meet mine for long. I told her the return went fine, that the cashier refunded the money, that I stopped by the hardware store after. I smiled, calm, normal. She didn't suspect a thing. But that night, when she fell asleep, I stared at the ceiling thinking about every detail I'd missed. The nights she'd said she was at yoga but came home with straightened hair. The coworker dinners that always ended after midnight. The subtle distance that had crept between us without me noticing. By morning, the shock had dulled into something sharper. I wasn't going to yell or break things or beg for explanations. I wanted the truth, not excuses, so I started taking notes. I wrote down dates, times, what she said, what she did. I checked her calendar on our shared laptop. I noticed every new contact that appeared on her phone. I didn't want to be obsessive. I wanted to be certain. When she left for work that Monday, I sat in the car with the photo open again. Her hand in his. Both of them smiling like they had nothing to hide. I knew this was only the beginning. But one thing was clear. I wasn't about to walk away quietly. Next time I saw Miles Denton, it wouldn't be by accident. The morning after I saw Kara and Miles at Target, everything felt wrong but looked perfectly normal. She made coffee like usual, hummed while scrolling through her phone, kissed my cheek before leaving for work. Nothing in her movements hinted that she'd spent Saturday morning holding another man's hand. Her ability to pretend almost impressed me. Almost. When the door closed behind her, I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, staring at the half-empty cup she'd left. I wasn't angry yet. I was curious, coldly, clinically curious, like I was solving an engineering problem. Every system leaves traces, every failure has a pattern. I just had to find it. That week I started paying attention. Not dramatically. No rifling through drawers or chasing her car. Just observation. She told me she had a big client project coming up, which meant late nights at the office. I nodded, told her I was proud of her. When she came home past 10, smelling faintly of wine and someone else's cologne, I didn't mention it. Instead, I checked her calendar while she showered. There were new entries labeled team dinner and strategy session, both ending after midnight. She'd started wearing a different perfume too, something heavier, more expensive. I'd noticed it the night she came home glowing from drinks with the girls. When I asked how it went, she said they'd stayed at a rooftop bar until 2 a.m. I pretended to believe her, even smiled, but I knew 2 of those girls were married with toddlers. They weren't staying out till 2. The real clue came from her smartwatch. I'd bought it for her last Christmas. It synced to our shared health app. She'd never bothered to turn off sharing. One night, while she claimed to be finishing a report at the office, I checked her heart rate log. From 9:42 p.m. to 10:37 p.m., her heart rate averaged 134 BPM, not running. Not stress. That was something else entirely. Still, I didn't confront her. I wanted something undeniable, something she couldn't twist. So I planned. I installed a location-sharing app on her phone, disguised as a couple's safety tracker. I told her it was for emergencies in case one of us got stuck on the highway. She agreed easily, too easily. That confirmed she thought I was still clueless. 2 days later, on a Wednesday evening, I got my first ping. Her location said she was at the Hilton Garden Inn near the airport. She'd told me she was at a networking dinner downtown. I sat in my car staring at the map, watching the little blue dot stay still for half an hour. The airport was 30 minutes away. I didn't hesitate. I drove. The Hilton parking lot was quiet, half lit by orange lamps. I didn't go inside immediately. I parked across the street watching the front entrance. After 20 minutes, a black sedan pulled up. Miles Denton stepped out. He was wearing a light gray suit, the same one from the office party I'd met him at. He walked through the sliding doors like he owned the place. My stomach turned, but my mind stayed calm. I walked up to the valet station and asked if there was a Mr. Denton checked in. The young guy behind the counter hesitated, then said yes, room 508, checking in under M. Daniels. I slipped him $20 and asked who else was with him. He smirked. Layton, he said, reading from the screen. K. Layton, fake last names. Hotel near the airport. It was too clean, too practiced. I booked a room on the same floor using my rewards card. Room 510. Close enough to hear if I wanted to. The hallway was quiet when I got there. Their door was closed, but the sound came faintly through the wall. Music, laughter, the clink of glasses. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone recording app open, listening. At one point, there was a soft thud, then more laughter, muffled rhythmic movement against the wall. The kind of sounds you don't mistake for anything else. I turned off the recording after 3 minutes. That was all I needed. I didn't storm in. I didn't knock. I wanted her to finish her little evening believing she was safe. Let her sleep peacefully beside her coworker. I checked out quietly the next morning. The valet recognized me, gave me a cautious nod. I didn't say a word. When I got home, I transferred the audio file to my laptop, added the timestamp, and sent it to my email. Then I backed it up on a flash drive. Evidence, clean and simple. That evening, Kara came home smiling, carrying a small shopping bag. She said she'd picked up new skincare samples after her meeting. I noticed the faint line of her necklace was missing, one I'd given her last Christmas. The pendant always rested right at the collarbone, but there was no sign of it. Probably still lying on the Hilton's white sheets. She sat beside me on the couch, asked how my day was. I told her fine, asked about hers. She said productive, a little long, but worth it. I nodded. My voice didn't waver. She had no idea. That weekend, we were supposed to go to her parents' house for dinner. She said she wanted to tell them about the wedding color palette. I watched her describe floral arrangements while stirring pasta sauce. Her phone buzzed twice on the counter. The screen flashed M. She turned it face down fast, almost too fast. When she left the room, I noted the time and message preview, still thinking about last night. It was too perfect. Too obvious. She was slipping. Sunday morning, while she showered, I borrowed her phone under the pretext of checking the weather. She had an app hidden under work tools. Inside were messages to MD, photos, hotel confirmations, and one voice memo she must have forgotten to delete. I played it quietly. Miles saying her name, her laughing saying his. The intimacy was unbearable but useful. I forwarded everything to myself, then closed it like nothing happened. For the next few days, I pretended our lives were normal. We had dinner, talked about catering, watched Netflix. I told her my mom wanted to finalize the guest list. She nodded, asked if I'd confirm the DJ. It was surreal, planning a future with someone I already knew I'd leave. Then came the moment that sealed it. Friday afternoon, her team dinner again. I checked her location. Same hotel, same room number. 508, I didn't drive there this time. I just took a screenshot of the map, timestamped it, and archived it with the rest. I was done collecting proof. I had enough to end everything 10 times over. When she came home that night, she brought takeout sushi, her usual peace offering. She talked about work stress, about needing a weekend away soon. I smiled, told her I agreed. But while she unpacked the food, I noticed her phone buzz again. Another message from Miles. Next time, same place, same you. She didn't even look guilty anymore. That was the strangest part. She'd already convinced herself she deserved it. I didn't say a word. I just took a bite of sushi, nodded along, and realized that the next time we ate together in this kitchen would be our last, because now I had the truth, and it was louder than anything she could ever explain away. The next week, Kara started acting sweeter than usual. She brought me coffee in bed, sent random messages during work hours, suggested weekend plans. To anyone else, it might have looked like affection. To me, it was damage control. Somewhere deep down, she must have sensed that the walls were closing in, even if she didn't know how much I already knew. Her parents were hosting an engagement brunch that Saturday. It was supposed to be a celebration. Family, friends, her coworkers, all of them coming together to toast our new life. Kara was excited, radiant even. She spent 2 hours choosing her outfit, humming while curling her hair. Watching her from the doorway, it was almost surreal. She still looked like the woman I'd fallen for, but now I could see every lie sitting just beneath her skin. I'd already decided that the brunch would be the end. Quietly, efficiently, publicly. No yelling, no thrown glasses, just truth in a room that couldn't ignore it. The night before, I finished setting everything up. The evidence, the photos, the messages, the hotel booking under false names was all on a flash drive. I connected it to my phone, converted everything into a short video slideshow. No sound, no dramatic music, just still images with timestamps. Simple, unmistakable. I added one slide at the end. Coworker of the year. Then I paired my phone with the Bluetooth display projector Kara's father had rented for the brunch's memory reel. I tested it once. Perfect. Saturday. Arrived bright and painfully cheerful. Her parents' home was filled with pastel decorations, a spread of pastries, and a champagne tower near the window. Her mother hugged me tight, talking about how lucky Kara is. Her father gave my shoulder a proud pat. I smiled, polite, composed. Kara floated around the room greeting guests. When Miles walked in, I felt the air shift. He wasn't on the guest list. He must have come as someone's +1, probably one of her colleagues. Kara's expression flickered when she saw him, a small flash of panic that she buried under a too bright smile. They didn't talk directly, but I noticed their eyes find each other across the room more than once. When everyone was seated, Kara's father stood up and tapped his glass. "Let's make a toast," he said. "To love that endures, to honesty, and to building a family." The irony almost made me laugh. Kara squeezed my hand under the table. Her nails were painted pale pink, steady, rehearsed. Then it was her turn to speak. She stood, thanked everyone, and said she'd prepared a little surprise, a photo reel of our engagement trip. Her father handed her the remote and she pressed play, but it wasn't her reel that started. The projector blinked to life, and instead of photos from our beach trip, the first image appeared, Kara and Miles, holding hands in the electronics aisle at Target. There was a faint murmur through the crowd. The next slide, hotel confirmation at the Hilton, registered under M. Daniels and K. Layton. Then a cropped photo of Miles's car parked outside the same hotel, time-stamped to the hour. Kara froze. Her hand tightened around the remote, but she didn't move to stop it. People began whispering. Miles's face drained of color. The slideshow continued, screenshots of their messages, one after another, short and unmistakable. A final image appeared. Coworker of the year, overlaid on a photo of them laughing in the hotel bar, drinks in hand. Then the screen went black. The silence that followed felt endless. Her father's expression hardened first. Her mother covered her mouth, whispering her daughter's name like it could undo what she'd just seen. Miles stood up suddenly, knocking over his chair. This isn't, he stammered, but no one looked at him. All eyes were on Kara. She finally managed to move, fumbling for the remote, voice trembling. "It's not what it looks like," she said. But the evidence didn't need defending. It was too clear. I didn't bother to interrupt. I just reached into my pocket, took off my ring, and placed it neatly on the table in front of her. Kara's face went blank. Her lipstick looked too bright against the sudden pallor of her skin. "Nate, please," she whispered, almost inaudible. I stood, adjusted my cuff, and spoke clearly enough for everyone to hear. "That was the truth," I said simply. "And the engagement is over." Her father pushed his chair back so hard it scraped the floor. "Get out," he said to Miles, his voice trembling with fury. "Get out of my house before I call the police." Miles hesitated for half a second, then turned and left, muttering something under his breath as he walked past the stunned guests. Kara's mother started crying. Her father sat down, head in his hands. I didn't stay for the aftermath. I didn't need to. I walked out quietly while they argued behind me. The sunlight outside felt blinding. Halfway to my car, I heard her heels on the driveway. She ran after me, voice breaking. She begged to explain, to talk, to fix things. I turned to face her, and for the first time, I saw real panic. Not guilt, not regret, but the panic of someone who'd just lost control of their own story. "There's nothing left to say," I told her. "You've already said everything that mattered to him." She started crying, the mascara streaking down her cheeks. Her words came out disjointed, desperate. She said she'd made a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to go that far, that she loved me. But love doesn't check into hotels under fake names. Love doesn't text next time, same place. I opened my car door. "You should tell your boss," I said quietly. "Because I already did." Her expression changed from grief to disbelief. "You didn't," I didn't answer. I just got in, closed the door, and drove off. That evening, I sent an email to her company's HR department, attaching the evidence folder with a short note about workplace misconduct and inappropriate relationships. I didn't sign my name, but it wasn't hard to guess who sent it. Within 24 hours, both Kara and Miles were called in for questioning. She tried to reach me dozens of times that weekend, calls, texts, voicemails. I didn't respond to a single one. By Monday, word had spread around her office. HR had launched an internal review. Miles's wife, who also worked in the same building, found out before noon. By the afternoon, his desk was cleared out. I expected to feel satisfaction. What I felt instead was silence. A heavy, clean kind of silence that comes after a storm. When Kara came home that night, she looked exhausted, makeup streaked, voice gone small. She said she'd been suspended while they investigated. She asked if I'd talk to her father, tell him it wasn't all true. I told her he saw the truth himself. For once, she had no words. I slept soundly that night for the first time in weeks. The following week moved slowly, like the air itself was thicker. Every noise felt amplified. The buzz of my phone, the creak of the floorboards, the faint hum of traffic outside my apartment. I'd half expected chaos, but what came instead was quiet. The kind of quiet that tells you something has broken beyond repair. Kara's number appeared on my screen more than 30 times over the next few days. She left voicemails I didn't listen to, texts I didn't open. On Wednesday evening, I came home to find her waiting by the building entrance. She'd been crying. Her eyes were red, her hair tangled, her voice hoarse when she said my name. I didn't invite her in. She followed me upstairs anyway, still talking. Something about how it wasn't what it seemed, how she'd been manipulated, how she never stopped loving me. When I finally unlocked my door and turned to face her, she broke down completely. She told me she'd been seeing Miles for 6 months, that it had started after a conference trip when they'd had too much to drink. She said she'd tried to end it, but he'd threatened to tell HR that she'd pursued him. That he'd made promises about leaving his wife, that she'd been stupid enough to believe them. She said she didn't love him, that she loved me. Her words hit like dull thuds, no weight, no honesty, just noise trying to fill a space already emptied out. I let her finish, then handed her a small folder from my desk. Inside were printed copies of every photo, message, and email I'd sent to HR. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even look angry. I just told her calmly that what she was describing might have worked as an excuse before, but not anymore. She opened the folder and went pale. When she realized everything was documented, the timestamps, the messages, even the hotel logs, her knees gave out and she sat on the floor shaking. "I didn't think you'd go this far," she whispered. "You didn't think I'd find out," I said. "That's the difference." For a moment, neither of us spoke. She looked up at me like she didn't recognize who I was anymore. Maybe she didn't. I'd spent so long being the calm, forgiving one, the steady man she could always count on. She'd mistaken quiet for weakness. I walked past her to the kitchen and poured a glass of water. "Your name's already been taken off the lease," I said. "You'll need to pack your things by the weekend. The landlord's aware." She started crying again, harder this time. She said she'd lost her job. HR had terminated her that morning after Miles's wife provided her own evidence. Apparently, it wasn't his first time breaking company rules. He'd been fired, too. His wife had filed for divorce within hours. Kara begged me to reconsider, to start over somewhere new. She said she'd move away, get therapy, do anything. The desperation was real, but it was too late. The life she'd buried under her own lies was gone. I told her she could keep her clothes, her personal items, and the car. Technically, it was registered in her name. Everything else stayed. She stood slowly, her expression collapsing into something bitter. "You think you're better than me," she said. "You think because you caught me, you win." I set the glass down. "No one wins," I said. "But at least I don't lie about who I am." When she left, she didn't slam the door. She just walked out quietly, the sound of her heels fading down the hall. I thought that would be the last time I'd see her. For a while, it was. The next few weeks passed like a cleanup operation. I canceled the venue, the florist, the catering service. Some deposits were non-refundable, but most refunded after I showed proof of irreconcilable circumstances. The phrase made me laugh when I read it. It sounded clinical for something so personal. I used part of the refunded money to pay off my remaining student loans, then sent the rest anonymously to a local foundation that supported single fathers. Something about that felt right. Kara moved out of town soon after. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she'd tried applying to other firms, but her name carried the weight of scandal. Corporate circles are small. Word travels. She eventually found work at a marketing agency 2 states over. One afternoon, about 2 months later, an email from an unknown address landed in my inbox. It was from her. No greeting, no apology, just a few lines. She said she still thought about me every day, that she missed what we were before everything got complicated. She ended it with, "I hope one day you'll forgive me." I didn't reply. I deleted it without reading twice. Life started to normalize after that. I got used to cooking for one, to quiet evenings, to weekends spent hiking or reading instead of arguing over wedding plans. My friends started inviting me out again, cautiously at first. Some of them had been at that brunch. They didn't know what to say. I didn't blame them. There wasn't much to say. Then one morning, while scrolling through LinkedIn during a work break, I saw Miles Denton's name. His profile headline read, "Marketing Director, Open to Work." The irony almost made me smile. A week later, I ran into Kara's father at a coffee shop. He looked tired, older than I remembered. When he saw me, his expression softened. He thanked me for not dragging their family through more public humiliation. He said Kara was living with her aunt now, trying to find herself. I told him I genuinely hoped she would. There was no anger left in me by then, just distance. That night, I sat on my balcony watching the city lights. For months, I'd thought revenge would feel like fire. It didn't. It felt clean, cold, quiet, like finally closing a door that should have been locked long ago. Every once in a while, people still ask why I never confronted her sooner, why I didn't scream or break something or make a bigger scene. But the truth is, the most devastating revenge isn't noise. It's exposure. It's showing people exactly who someone really is without embellishment. Just letting the truth do its work, and it did. By the end of that year, I'd sold the apartment we once shared and moved across town. New neighborhood, new start. The ring I'd left on that brunch table stayed with her parents. They never returned it. I didn't ask. It was better that way. Sometimes I still pass a Target while running errands. And every time I do, I think about that morning. How a simple return turned into an ending I didn't see coming. I remember the way she laughed, the way I stood there pretending I hadn't noticed. It feels like a lifetime ago, but if I learned anything from it, it's that truth has its own rhythm. You don't have to chase it. It finds you, whether you're ready or not. And when it does, you either face it head on, or end up exposed under its light like Kara and her coworker in that quiet Target aisle on a Saturday morning.